President Obama abusing his power? That will be a case that the Supreme Court decides. Next month, the High Court will hear arguments about presidential appointment power during Senate recesses. And then the justices are going to decide whether President Obama's recess appointments are constitutional. Georgetown law professor Nicholas Rosencrantz joins us. Nick, thank you so much. Let's start with this Noel Canning case, because you think overall it's going to be a big year for the Supreme Court, starting with this case.
Yeah, this is a huge case. So in general, when the president makes senior appointments, those folks are supposed to be confirmed by the Senate. But there's a bit of an exception to the rule, which is if the Senate is not in session or if the Senate's in recess, the president can make these appointments and the Senate doesn't have to confirm. They're not around. But so what happened here was the Senate thought that it was in session. It purported to be in session. It was holding little micro sessions, and the president said, that's not a real session, doesn't count. And so I'm going to go ahead and make these appointments as though you were in recess.
Is that different to what previous presidents have done? Like President Bush, I know, had some recess appointments, but is this the first case of its kind to go to the Supreme Court?
Well, this is the first time that a president has purported to use the recess appointments power when the Senate itself thought that it was in session.
Not in recess. That seems like it should be pretty easy to decide.
I would think that it should be 9-0, actually. I think it's a real overreach. The president has very few crystal clear restrictions on his power in the Constitution, and this is one of them. So.
All right. The next one that you want to talk about is the Hobby Lobby case. That's the nickname for it. This has to do with Obamacare and contraception. What's this case about?
So this is another Obamacare case. This is somebody who is objecting to a mandate within Obamacare that requires insurance policies to cover certain kinds of contraception. And these are folks who have a closely held corporation, and they object to providing this sort of contraception as a religious matter. And so this brings into conflict some Obamacare requirements and this provision of a different statute, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So generally, this is bringing into tension the rights of conscience of these folks and these new mandates from Obamacare.
And has that case been heard yet by the court?
No, that's coming up. That's coming up.
And do you have any prediction on how that will go? Or you want to hear the arguments first?
Well, it's quite a complicated case, and there are several little doctrinal strands to it. But, I think the important principle at stake is the more and more the federal government gets its hands on, the smaller there is room for individual conscience and individual liberty. So these are new problems that are created by the overreaching federal government. And
you may have given Bill O'Reilly his word of the day for Monday. I think this is the first time doctrinal strands has been mentioned on the Fox News channel, but I like it. I like it. The third one is about affirmative action. And this case has been working its way through for quite a while, but finally the Supreme Court will decide it.
So this case is truly bizarre. In Michigan, a constitutional amendment of the Michigan Constitution would forbid affirmative action. So forbid preferences on the basis of race, forbid discrimination on the basis of race. And bizarrely, the Sixth Circuit held that constitutional amendment actually violates the federal Equal Protection Clause. So here's Michigan actually requiring equal treatment on the basis of race, and the Sixth Circuit says, no, that violates the Equal Protection Clause. It's almost turned the Equal Protection Clause on its head. It's quite a strange result.
It's almost backwards. And so do you think, you said the previous case you thought might be a 9-0, but this one, what do you think?
I think this one should be 9-0, but I think it probably won't. I could imagine that it'll be closer to 7-2, but I certainly don't think the Sixth Circuit opinion can stand. I think the Michigan constitutional amendment will be fine. So
if you were a fan of the Supreme Court, 2014 is going to be a big year.
This is a great term. Yeah, very interesting case. It's a great year to be a constitutional law professor.
Exactly. I was going to say your students probably love it.
They do.
Okay, great. Yeah. Nick, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you.